Hello everyone, Comrade Snake here. So it's been quite a while. Lots been happening in my personal life. I'll just cut to the chase. So I got married, went on a honeymoon, doing all getting all that stuff sorted out. So it's been a really hectic ride for the last few months. But I was able to finally put all that is all over with and done, and it was it's just wonderful to be married to a wonderful, beautiful woman, and it's just great. Obviously, I don't really talk much of my personal life here, so I'm not going to go too much more into it. Just to say that that's one of the big reasons why I've been absent for a while and busy and just so much going on and haven't really had time to, be recording stuff or do anything like that. So I am back for a little thing here. I recently on the Steam sale here, I picked up Second Front because I had seen it before and it looked interesting, and I've been kind of playing that and kind of getting used to learning it. And this scenario here seems pretty fun, so I figure let's give this one a shot here. This is I'm gonna mispronounce this, I'm sure. Deir el Shein, Deir Shein. I'll go with that. I don't know. This is part of the German scenarios versus this one's versus the Commonwealth. So we can get our little description here. This is part of the El Alamein battle, 21st Panzer Division attack Deir el Shein. I'm never going to pronounce it correctly. They found the 18th Indian Infantry Brigade defending it, supported by new 6-pounder anti-tank guns and Matilda II tanks. So our forces here, we're going to have several Panzer IIIs, a couple Panzer IIs, which I believe that looks like these. Yeah, the 75 millimeter short gun. So that's more for punching through defenses or anti-infantry work than it is for anti-tank work. So we're really gonna have to rely on our Panzer IIIs there for dealing with tank, at least at a range. Up close, this would still work, but primarily we're gonna want to use their Panzer IIIs for anything at range. We have some infantry. 6 squads of riflemen with a couple LMGs and a couple, decent leaders, and then an armored car for scouting. So that's good. And in India here, they have a lot less forces, at least at the start. There may be reinforcements going on for them or both players, but they have a Matilda II, so that's going to be a tough nut to crack. It's got a good gun, fires quickly, very thick armor. So we're going to do a lot to try to get rid of that. And then they have 2 very dangerous 6-pounder anti-tank guns that are somewhere on the map, most likely in fixed positions up on the ridges, is usually how these desert scenarios seem to work, at least from messing around on the Commonwealth side a little bit. And then they have 4 infantry squads with air-cooled machine gun, or actually that looks like a water-cooled jacket. It might be a water-cooled machine gun and a LMG, and then 2 leaders to help kind of stiffen the ranks a bit. I'm not actually sure what all of these symbols mean. There are some symbols I'm not sure what they all mean. I'm kind of learning the game still, and I really should just open up the manual and look at them, but I haven't, so we're just going to kind of dive in and see what goes down. All right, so here we go. Let's try to take this. So let's get a look at the situation. Okay. So a little bit about the game. Obviously, it's a hex war game. We have various units, traits, and everything else here. So in this case, we have 8 turns. It looks like we need to, I'm sure, capture it before it runs out. Yeah. So we have 8 turns. Every turn, it's going to go down by 10 points. So we have 8 turns to capture this area. So we need to clear it of enemy troops and get our own in that zone. Like adjacent, I believe, also works. So it's either in that space or the adjacent spaces and no enemy units around them. So the way this game works is we have each turn goes through several phases, and then the enemy gets their action. So it's kind of very board game like in that regard, which I like. So we start with a movement and fire phase, and we go first in this scenario. So we're the Germans. In fact, I think the player goes first in every scenario. Maybe not. Maybe there's some defensive scenarios where they don't. But we have a move and fire phase. So now we can move our units. They can engage in fire combat if they wish. Keep in mind each turn, round, whatever you want to call it, whatever it's called in the game. They have a limited number of fire actions for a unit, and you may want to keep those in place to respond, or have so your units can automatically respond to enemy movements and take attacks of opportunity, because there's a limited amount you can do each round. Anyway, so we'll be able to move our guys, potentially fire them, or whatever, however we want to handle it. Then the enemy will get a fire phase, so then they can respond with fire combat if they wish or are able to. Then you get a escape phase, so this units that became broken, the morale was broken in the previous 2 phases, will then retreat to wherever their retreat path is, assuming they can. If they are unable to retreat and they are adjacent to an enemy unit, they will surrender. And then you have an advance phase, so infantry are able to, advance 1 hex in any direction that's a legal hex. They can't be fired upon when doing this. And if they enter an enemy hex, that will trigger close combat for the following phase, which is the close combat phase. So first you do close combat, then you do recovery, so units can attempt to rally. Panic will subside naturally, but hopefully they don't run off the map, and officers can help rally units as well. And then it cycles to the same sequence, but in the inverse. So it'll be the enemies, in this case India, will have their move and fire phase, then we will have a fire phase, then etc. Then they'll have an advance. So now that we and then this is a nice tab for cycling through building stories, which doesn't really matter on this map. It's just all 1-story buildings, so we don't really care. Just for the sake of, we can turn that on just so we can see enemy units inside there. So we do get to see a little bit of how the enemy is, but they are technically hidden, as are ours with the question mark. So right now the enemy has not seen any of your units and can't see them. Now this is one of the most useful tools in the game, which is the line of sight from each hex, so you can see where it goes. So obviously these ridges are going to give pretty good line of sight, at least when they're up front here on there, including this. So if we look at, say, this one of the enemy's 6-pounder guns here on the ridge, they have really good line of sight down this channel, and this one if we were somehow over there. However, their guns and turreted tanks have facing. So right now the gun is facing this direction, which is going to give it an arc of fire. Now it can be turned, which will lower its accuracy for that turn, or that round rather, I guess. But it will still be able to fire after moving at least a little bit. So you have to worry about that. Certain guns, so anti-tank guns and mortars that I've seen, and I think tanks as well, but it seems to be more rare, can have a potential for a quick reload, where they'll be able to fire multiple times, and this can keep triggering. I believe the chance diminishes after each fire, but they can potentially fire off multiple rounds towards enemy units in a turn, so that can be very useful. But there is a risk to that. Every time you fire a gun or a mortar or any such thing, there is a risk of running out of ammo. There is a risk of gun malfunctions. There's all kinds of things that can go wrong the more you do it. So you have to be careful there. Or just sometimes you might just be unlucky. We'll see how it goes. So they have let's look at this gun here, and then we'll kind of figure out our approach. So this gun has lines of sight this way and this way, pretty standard there. But and of course on top of the ridge. But that's about it. Okay. What do we have over here? We have the infantry squad with the machine gun, the main machine gun. And yep, lots of good line of sight on the ridges, plus down these channels here. So, so I'm seeing kind of a dark spot. So it looks to me like if we can get a tank over here, we'll be able to we'll put fire onto this ridgeline without risking getting shot by the anti-tank gun, and I think that'll be important. So we want to get some kind of armored vehicle, probably one of the T. I said T. I guess if I'm Russian, probably one of the Panzer IIIs. I feel like the range might be too great for the 75 snub. Maybe I'm wrong. I can find out here in a second. Okay, so I think that's going to be important because we need to be able to suppress that machine gun if we're going to get infantry close enough to deal with these guns. Now, they do have a Matilda as well, so we have to be conscious of that. Right now, it's too far back to do anything, but it's going to move up and probably get a pretty good line of fire. I wonder, maybe we can coax the Matilda to overextending and get it isolated and take it out that way and kind of keep our tanks behind these ridge lines until it's time. So this is a little... Okay, so what we need to do, because of this gun, we need to maneuver any vehicles we want on this side, probably this group. We need to maneuver this way and then through the ditch and out around in order to get a proper... And if we do that, actually, we can snake all the way around here without anyone seeing. So what I think we need to do is get a vehicle around here to put fire there, maybe even two. Put fire on them, see if we can panic them. And we need to move our infantry up this way using this ridge as cover to eventually put fire on here and try to take this out, maybe move it up. We're going to have to worry a little bit about this. We probably want to bring one vehicle up that we can use maybe up on the ridge to try to do this. We probably are going to have to risk at least a couple of our tanks from the guns depending on how things go. It's going to be a little tricky. Definitely going to be tricky. We're going to have to take risks with our armored vehicles. There's no way around that. But I think that's the way to go. We don't know where their LMG is. It's probably here, actually, because they have two things. So it might just be an officer. So we're not sure where their LMG is. But I think that's what we're going to want to or need to do, really. Try to suppress that machine gun, get our infantry close enough to, and probably even just two of our tanks. We're just going to have to kind of move forward and try to take that out quickly. If we do it around, yeah, so if we do it around this section, we can avoid crossfire from that gun. Yeah, I don't really want to move the tanks up on this ridge up here because both guns will be able to target them. So we want to stick to a pincer here and then a pincer this way to try to take this gun out and move forward. If we can do that and figure wherever the Matilda goes, we'll have to deal with it. But I think if we can take those guns out, or even at least one of them, and then the Matilda, I mean, it's a wrap from that point. We just have overwhelming armor superiority. So that's what we have to do. Okay. So now that we kind of got that idea, let's focus on getting that done. So these four are safe from there. These two are also safe from there, which I think is going to be the golden side there, is those two. We want to get guys, at least one armored vehicle over here. And I think we can do that without risking too much. Yeah. Okay. Gotta keep double checking. So these two spaces right here, or three even. Okay. So let's see. What vehicle... Is there any vehicle we can get there right now? We could get them over here. What about you? Could get you over here. So there's a lot of little tiny mechanics, like you increase accuracy of your tanks if the engine is off, which is what this white like stop thing is. Go move to there and then turn off your engine, which helps with that. If it's red, the engine will still be running, which will reduce accuracy. Okay, let's maneuver these bottom tanks here. So what we need to do is make sure, we want to be very careful about how we do it. Just need to make sure that we're not going up on the ridge. Okay, that should be okay then. So we can go there. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, that's one tank there. Do I want to maybe move this guy to that spot? Maybe. Maybe that's preferable and just keep those guys there. Okay, let's try. You know what? Let's try that, because I think he's a better position to get there than these are. All right. Okay. So we don't have a very good chance of hitting. If it does hit, so not a very high chance of hitting. Very, very low. Very, very poor aiming because we moved a lot, and that reduced accuracy. Now, if it does hit, we have 25% chance of panicking the unit, 2% of getting a KIA, 6% of this is pin, so we have a lot of I think half is reducing their squad by half, I think. So there's a lot of potential here. I think it's worth trying because they've already spotted the vehicle anyway, so let's just give it a shot. And we got a gun reload, so we can try it. So nothing. Okay, that's expected. Just statistically, that was most likely what was going to happen. Okay, so now we have these other infantry. So let's move you forward. I don't think there's any way they're going to get fired on yet, so we'll just kind of run them. So leaders are also important, not just for rallying, but they give more movement points to units they're with. So I'm actually going to put them with that. So next turn, they're going to be able to do more, but we'll be able to advance them down into the ditch for now. Okay. Let's see. What do we want to do with the armored car? Maybe that is something we can also kind of use to our advantage a bit. And that's an example of what happens when you aren't paying attention to the movement path and just click it. But anyway, we were okay. It was a miss, so no big deal. Now, there is an important factor there, which is if you look over here, you see the red. So that fired, and it didn't get a gun reload or anything, so it can't fire again until their next round. Until their round. Which would be very important if we wanted to maneuver our tanks into a spot where it could normally shoot. So really quick, so they can always fire from there. But that armored car may also be useful, if risky, but useful for drawing their AT gun fire like that for an opportunity and exhausting their ability to fire that round, and then you can push our tanks up and take shots at and try to knock them out while they're unable to return fire. So that's an important thing we can do. You also can do things like that with enemy infantry, trying to soak up their attacks of opportunity, using infantry by using infantry units, kind of bait, maneuvering them in a way where you can try to minimize the damage they might take, through woods or stone walls, depending on the map, things like that. and then drawing the enemy fire so that you can move your assault units forward without risk of getting attacked again. Anyway, let's see. We don't have any good stats on it. It's probably a basically worthless shot, but let's give it let's try anyway. Okay, machine gun. Yeah, nothing. So, nothing. That's okay. Now that already fired, so I don't really need to worry about that one. And we should be pretty safe to just kind of push up along here. Now we want to keep the engines running still because we don't have to use any action points to restart the engines on there. So we can bring them all the way up to, well, we'll just go up to here then. Run you. Run you. I don't want to run on the mountain. Yeah, we'll run that way and then run up here. An important thing to note also, and I've seen this on the desert map. I'm not sure if this is, I don't think this is true in other maps, but I haven't actually paid probably close enough attention. But on these desert maps at least, when your armored vehicles move like this, they leave behind these dust trails, which obscures, or smoke. Maybe that's true on the other ones, but it obscures vision both into the dust, or I should say accuracy, into the dust and out of it. So if you have a unit that's in that smoke, they have a much worse accuracy, very bad accuracy penalty for that. Okay, so that's our move and fire for this round. And I just noticed there's no reinforcement tag on either side. So this is all the units we're going to have for this. We have to be very judicious with how we use things. Okay, so fire phase. So they took a shot at our guys. Now, there is a reasoning for them to do that in this scenario or this situation because our guys are currently... they are out of the... They're exposing themselves on the vehicles, which improves accuracy and sight range and does some other things, but it does mean there is a little bit of vulnerability there. So we want to be a little careful. And I think it might even behoove us to button down at least while we're in range of that. All right, now we can have an advance. So I think we wanted there. I don't think we want to expose our infantry on the ridge while that machine gun is still in operation. Well, it can't fire this round, but it will be able to next round. I don't want to expose us to fire that way. So let's just advance. Obviously, as it said before, you can't be fired on during the advance phase, but they're about to have their own movement and fire time, so I don't want to risk taking shots that we don't need to take. So let's move on. There's no melee, there's no recovery. It's just going to kind of cycle through it and move on to Commonwealth turn. Okay. All right, their machine gun retreated. That's probably wise, since they know they can't hurt those anymore. Maybe I should have kept one of the... oh, that was a weird move. Maybe I should have kept one of the tanks open just to keep their machine gun there and trying to attack, but I don't know. Maybe not. All right. So they moved the machine gun back, which is useful to us. They've also exposed this rifle squad and lieutenant. So maybe we want to do something with that if we can here. Well, let's see. So no, it's our fire phase, so we could... oh, no, we actually don't have anybody we can take shots with, so let's just move on. Okay, now they're moving it to retake. They're taking that spot. They're going up there. Machine gun's doing something. They're going back in the house. Okay. I don't always know what the AI is trying to do. Sometimes I think it just moves stuff just to move it. Okay, so let's move you guys up here. You guys up here. They're going to use a lot of movement points to get up and down the slope, but that's okay. Now, yeah, we need to... We don't actually need to stay in the entire thing, but probably should stay through most of it, yeah. Okay. So let's see. So notice that our armored car, it doesn't look like they're able to fire, or at least maybe they just have much reduced range when they don't have the hatch open. So that's something to think about too. Now, our Panzer III has now it has not moved this round, and we can even turn off the engine here. Oh no, wait, shoot. Okay, I had that opposite there. The engine was already off, and I was turning it on. Anyway, so I used up a little bit of extra points, but it shouldn't matter in this case. So a little mistake on my part there, misreading the UI. But we can fire HE. Now we have a much higher chance of actually hitting now, because we've fired on this hex before, and we've, not get this. Now, the hill, firing up onto the hill adds a little bit, but the hill doesn't have much cover. But we also have the hatch closed, so we do have worse aiming. Maybe we could even... Let's see. Do we have enough to open the hatch and fire still? Yes. Okay, so now we've opened the hatch again, which makes sense since the machine gun's gone. I feel better about that. Now look at that. 72% aiming chance to hit with a lot of potential. Well, pretty high potential. This is pretty high in this game to do damage of some sort. And then we have a 33% chance for a quick reload. So let's take that shot. No quick reload. But we managed to break those units' morale. So they're going to retreat during the retreat phase. And they'll probably rally within a couple turns maybe, or phases. We'll see. But there, at least we were able to do some damage. And I do feel good about that. Okay, so now let's see what... So we could move up with the armored car a little bit, it looks like. Yeah, we can move up like a hex. And we could take a shot. It wouldn't be great. There's a 4% chance for a malfunction. Could also just fire a turret. MG. Nothing there. Ooh, actually, we actually got some hits on there. Let's see. Why not? Nothing with the cannon, but the machine gun actually did do a little something, so that's cool. No kills or anything, but we managed to shake them up a bit, even more than they already hurt, so that's good. Let's see. Does the Matilda have range? The Matilda has sight range over here, so I want to be careful with that. I don't want to necessarily expose my infantry like that. Okay. So we need to figure out how we're going to do this. So that infantry is going to be able to response fire onto this ridge, unfortunately. So what I think I'm going to have to do, or want to do rather, is I'm going to try to beta out. Now it's a rifle squad, so it would have 2. So I'm going to see if I can bait it out with this unit. Although if we crawl, it might keep them... Usually that keeps them concealed, but I'm not actually sure if that will work with these ridges and heights. I don't actually know. We could just test that out and see what happens. Okay, it did expose them. So they take some fire. They took a little bit of damage there, but nothing too bad. So now we could fire back, which now we moved and we have a long range penalty, but Let's give it a shot. Got nothing there. How do we want to do this? Maybe we take just this regular squad, and we could move them up. We wouldn't be able to crawl, so they'd have a little more exposure to the enemy fire, but that would allow us to move our LMG up without fear and get into position. So let's take the risk. Oh, they didn't fire. Okay, interesting. All right, let's give them a shot then. Okay, nothing. Okay, let's get our LMG up. So, let's take a shot at that. I want to keep this infantry suppressed, so let's try that. Unfortunately, didn't work. Okay. Let's see what. I don't want to expose my panzers, but I also have a limited amount of time, so I may have no choice here. What I think I'm going to do is expose a Panzer III. Yeah, there's what it's looking at. So maybe I can I'll have to expose the Panzer III and then move the Panzer IV close enough to try to get a strong HE shot that can take that out. I don't really like that I have to do that at all, but I'm gonna try it. We're gonna risk it. See what happens. Yep, that's unfortunate. All right, well, now we're gonna have to head on over and try to take this out. Take a quick check on this. Okay, yeah, I can't really see any of them, so. I can just unload all. Yeah, I didn't get much there. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna drive that all the way up. We could try to put a smoke round and just take out its sight. Didn't quite work. Worth a shot, though. Okay. Okay, well, that really sucked, but it is what it is. That's exactly what I was worried about, too. Okay. Well, the north attack is not going well. Can at least advance our infantry a bit. I think we're gonna we'll advance this here and we'll advance them to the ridge. Okay, okay, and they failed the rally, which is kind of nice. Yeah, they still have one more round of running, but all right, this is probably gonna go poorly for that other Panzer III. Okay, thankfully Matilda's screwing off over there. Yep. Okay. Alright. Well. We can at least take some shots. Got an LMG reload. Okay, we did something there. Okay. They gonna do anything? Moving that back there. Moving them, okay, back to the ground floor. Okay, now that unit rallied. Well, shit, okay. We might as well push up as hard and fast as we can while we have the opportunity. Oh, really? The crew actually managed to I didn't anticipate that. I figured that firepower was not going to be enough to do it, because I've rarely ever see it do anything. That's actually a huge problem, then. Huge problem. Okay. Just try another LMG shot. Once again, did something. We are going to try to get close so that we can assault this gun. And of course that didn't work, but we'll at least make it up to here now. We can assault it. Okay. Well, this is just going to hell in a handbasket, as they say. Okay. Now this is facing the other way, so we can try to maybe get a shot on it. Okay. Well, that was extremely lucky there. That was a good lucky break. We managed to panic the crew of the gun, so that's actually a pretty big deal. So, northern flank not doing well. Southern flank exceeding expectations mostly, except for that. Okay, I wonder if we take the risk and just use the armored car to bait out... Well, actually, no, it's facing that way, so we can actually get close and try to do something here. And then we can maneuver into the assault. So let's see, what can we do? Can we do it? We have the smoke penalty, but that's okay. Okay, that's fine. We're not really going to be able to do anything, so let's not even bother firing the main gun. That'll be fine. I completely forgot about my smoke launchers when I would maneuver those tanks. That probably would have helped. At least given me a better chance. Oh well. You know, learning the game. Alright, let's see what happens in the fire phase here. Okay. Oh, shoot, they got to reload. Well, that's real bad, actually. That reload was extremely unfortunate. Okay. Well, it is what it is. We may be able to get the crew onto this gun and use that against the Matilda if need be. Okay, now we're going to advance here. You guys are going to advance. You guys will stay. Yeah, let's advance. Advance as far as we can. Okay, hopefully this will go well. So both units died. Unfortunate, but acceptable for this. Maybe we can actually end up maneuvering the crew that one. That might make more sense, given that we have 2 vehicles still down here. Okay, they're firing at them. That's fine. I don't think there's any reason. We have a very small chance of doing that. I'd rather not break our cover, so we'll leave them be there and just move on. Okay. That's not going well. All right, let's try to get you close to that gun. You'll go here. Gun's facing this way? Yeah, okay. So I think we want the Panzer 4D this direction here to put fire on them there. Nice. Okay, nothing there. That's okay. All right. Finally getting some decent maneuvering here. So now my question is, do I want to... I'm going to try to advance them up here because I want them this. Do I want to expose... Because they have the LMG's panicked, I think, but they have the machine gun in there. I can't tell if it's on the top floor or not. I don't think so. But I don't know if I want to expose this LMG to rifle fire unnecessarily like that yet. But I may have no choice because I'm running out of time. So let's just go for it. We'll be able to provide pretty heavy, hardy fire in a second. Grab that gun. And we're going to rotate that way. Okay. Moving on. Okay, let's see. Recovery. Okay, they missed, thankfully. Let's see. The Matilda's now moving again. Doesn't look like it still doesn't quite have a line of sight. Okay. That's not quite able to make it, or at least it's not able to fire in this. Alright, we could probably want to take a fire at the LMG. Can manage to pin him. Take some rifle fire. Okay, that ended up being very successful there. let's actually aim this turret. Can we, oh, maybe that was the wrong move then. Never mind. All right, let's just fire it here. Okay. Might as well load. Okay. That was actually a very successful fire phase. Routed a lot, pinned a few others. I think we can really move in for the kill here in a second. But we still have to worry about that Matilda. That's the main problem we're going to have to deal with. Okay. Okay, there was some rallying. I say who were very successful in their rallies, actually. That's annoying, but not the worst. Okay. So is there any exposure here at all? No. Okay. Unfortunate, but that'll be okay, I suppose. So do we have no way of... We can't target that roof? I feel like we should be able to. Can we not? Why not? Oh. That gun may not be as useful as I thought. I thought I could maybe, even if I couldn't hit that, I thought I could maybe at least target the roof. But no. Well, is what it is. Okay, let's open up again with that machine gun. Okay, we did suppress the LMG again. Where is this looking? That's looking there. So if I'm up here, I can't see that, but I could put more fire onto there. Hit from here, right? Yeah. Okay. No good there. Do I take the risk and try to get to the tree line? I think we need to. Took a little fire, but nothing too bad. Get shot at by them, the crew? No, okay. Alright, let's see what happens here on the fire phase. Do they got anything left that can fire? Maybe the... Yeah, okay, the crew, not a big deal. A little bit. Okay. Okay, failed to rally, thankfully. Still very scared by that Matilda. Okay, took a little damage. Yeah, we're probably gonna take some hits here. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Strangely, did not fire. All right. Oh, that was absolutely devastating. And we have another shot. And another one. Okay, that was huge. That was huge. Let's keep lighting them up. Do we keep trying, or do we just turn and face this? I think we have to. We have heat, AP. I think we've got to try the high explosive AT. Unfortunately, it was a ricochet, but that's okay. Routed a lot of guys there. They still have the MG, though. Okay, let's just go straight for firing that AP. Shoot, that's not good at all. Okay, now the MG is over there. So I think what we can do is we're gonna actually maneuver up. And then we're gonna advance. Oh, they got pinned by the stupid crew. Well, that was supposed to be an advance into an assault, but that's not going to happen now. At least not there. I guess these guys can still do it. Forgot about the tank machine gun. Okay, there we go. So we were still able to at least kind of do that. LMG fire. Okay. I think what we can do is... yeah, get this in there. Anything? Ugh. Okay. Should we pop our smoke? I don't think it's really going to matter at that range, but why not? Okay. They're going to get fire. Okay. Ricochet. They're pinned, so they can't advance, but at least we're in there. I think we're going to be out of time here to actually win this now because of the losses we took. Let's see what happens. Okay, got a KIA, that's nice. Keep firing. Okay. Critical hit on the leader, but it didn't quite have enough to do anything. Okay, they're at least retreating now. Broken and pinned. keep firing HE. Okay. They pinned them. Okay. And they panicked them. Shoot. Alright, that's very unfortunate. Go for this melee. We can get rid of this crew here. Yep. Okay. And we did at least get that. Okay. So, not a great score at -1, but it was still technically a victory because we did at least get it. Let me just, yeah, this is like big people scores. So let me go just, let me just see what, let me go. Let me just keep going just a little bit. I just want to see if we can clear out this Matilda maybe here. Just get that little extra points. Yeah, that was unfortunate, but no good rallies there. Did these guys have a rally? Oh yeah, they did. Okay. This still has no sight range for it. It makes sense. Ah. Turret hit and ricochet. Really? Oh, no. That's a shame. Well, that just turned into a humiliation at the end there. But hey, we did technically achieve victory, so that was an interesting, interesting look. I will definitely do some more of these and show off some of the stuff here with us. But that was still interesting and fun puzzle, and you can. There's a lot of weird swingy setbacks as you kind of saw with the, you know, knocking out that crew and then losing all those tanks. And some of that was my own bad maneuvering and not deploying smoke, or you know, I shouldn't have put that Panzer IV up on that ridge, exposed him to that other fire. I should have kept him in there. So, you know, I'm still learning and trying to figure it out. But overall, this is a very cool game, very fun, and I'm enjoying it a lot. Anyway, thanks for seeing this one, and we'll do some more videos here soon. Thank you, and catch you later.